Hello and good evening, everybody.
Hello. It's been a while. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear us? Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys can hear us, can you just put a yes on the comment section so that we can know that you are ready and we are ready also. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Norman. Hello, Eddie. Hi, Li Mei Feng. Thank you all for joining us tonight. First day of our new MCO. I don't know which version is this, Rila. MCO 2.0, 3.0. But it's a second total lockdown, so-called total lah.
Apparently, there are quite a few. I think about 900 over companies are allowed to operate, right? 900 over 1,000 companies are allowed to operate. I think the latest statistics from Nifty, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, we all got traffic on the roads today. I don't know. Well, anyways, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for your answer, Ikin, Izani, William, Shamim, Michael. Thanks. Okay, so looks like we're ready to go. So tonight's session is Ask Us Anything. We have 3 of us here today. So we have anything that you want to ask about investment and trading. Now that the market is, are we going to expect, what happened last year during the lockdown as well? I'm sure guys want some answers because market has also pulled back, right? So you can also ask us any questions that are relating to investing and trading. Not only the stock market, we have Andrew here as well to answer on cryptocurrencies, right? Because crypto market has also pulled back, right? So you get your questions ready. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a couple of charts to give you an update of what's happening in the market generally. Okay, I'm going to take a look at KLCI. I'm going to take a look at palm oil futures, and I'm also going to take a look at Bitcoin. And then later we will just have a conversation. You guys have any questions? So I know that we are now back into a lockdown for another 2 weeks, which I think probably going to run over a month. I don't think so. 2 weeks will able to bring the curve or flatten the curve. So
Maybe
you're
6 weeks.
probably
Maybe
6 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't run that long lah. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Give me a second. Okay, but you know what? First of all, whatever that's being shared here today is for educational, informational purposes only, right? It's not intended as any investment advice whatsoever. And if you do want to look for investment advice, please do look for a licensed professional investment advisor. All right. Okay, I'm gonna share my another screen again. Okay, so let's take a look at the KLCI first. There's not much changes. You know, if you have been following me from our technical Mondays and also some updates on the market, our index is still within the range between 1560 and 1640, right? And has been in this range since the beginning of this year. So we only see the market ding dong up and down. And of course, the index is balanced between the 30 counters, right? So, of course, glove counters has not been moving that much in the past few months. We are seeing some movement in the banking sector, actually, because, you know, if you look at the results, most of them has actually posted a record quarterly results, right? Earnings results. So we are seeing some movement on the banks. We also see movements, of course, on like, you know, press metal is also one of the counters in there. We also see the prices are also in an uptrend. Other than that, most of them are just basically going sideways. Plantation companies are not moving anywhere, despite you know, palm oil prices going into historical highs. But we also see some pullback in palm oil prices, right? From 4,000 ringgit now is trading around 3,000 plus. So I'll later show you the CPO chart. Right, so KLCI has rebounded in the past 1 week. So if you look at the chart here, right, we have these green candles here. So it's still being supported. Whenever it goes around 1560, that's where the support level is, and that's where we normally see the market rebounds. All right, so now it's at 1585, which is between the support and resistance between 1560 and 1620. So we are like in the middle of that support and resistance lah. So and if you look at the past few months, for the past 3 months, you see that the index has also been whipsawing against the 30-day moving average, which represents a short-term trend. So in the short term, basically the market is directionless lah. Right. We also see that the index is also below the Ichimoku cloud, which we see very thin. Okay, and normally in the thin cloud is where market moves into a correction. The good thing about Ichimoku indicator is this indicator is actually being plotted forward. All right, like here, you see the data actually ends today on the 1st of June, but the Ichimoku cloud actually runs forward. And by looking at this indicator, actually we are expecting a bearish trend. You can see the red cloud over here and it's getting thicker, right? And that will probably happen in next 2 weeks lah. So in other words, that if our index continue to stay below the cloud, right, in the next 2 weeks, okay, below 1,600 points, which is the index below the cloud. So in the next 2 weeks, if it stays below 1,006, then we're probably going to expect the index to probably going to go into a downtrend, breaking below the 1560 points. All right, so the next 1 or 2 weeks will be crucial, and we want to see whether the index is able to break above that psychological resistance at 1,006. Right, if it breaks above that level, that means there is still market confidence. If it cannot break that 1,600 level, you know, that means the market is not much confidence in there. And when that happens, people will start to sell. All right, so that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So we're going to see how the index perform. Right, and of course, we look at some of the counters and when you do an analysis on other counters, there are different. Some counters that have actually go against the KLCI. You know, some of them are still going up, and of course, most of them are going down. All right, so later we give an opportunity for you to ask any questions about We're not going to focus long on individual counters. We're just going to show you a very simple facts based on fundamentals and technicals. All right. So that's the KLCI. Nothing much happening. So in the past few months, you see it's just been going sideways. Now for CPO, all right, you can see that the price of CPO peaked on the 12th of May. All right, we are looking at the third month continuous contract. All right, and of course, if you look at the spot month contract, it went to almost 4,800 ringgit per metric ton. Okay, but in the futures market, the third month contract only went up to about 4,005, and it's now starting to pull back and it's now trading near 3,009. Now the beauty, about palm oil futures is once it trends, you can see by just drawing a simple straight line, uptrend line, the price trend just moves within that trend line. All right. So of course, when it moves further away from the trend line, that means the price is overbought and it's now pulling back to this trend line that you see over here. Right. So by looking at this movement in the past few days, you can see there are quite a number of red candles. There are times when the market gaps up, but at the end of the day, the selling pressure pulls it back down. That indicates that it's bearish in the short term, at least in the past 1 week. Right, so we're going to expect the the palm oil futures price to find support around 3,008. Okay, that's where the uptrend line is. And of course, if the price is unable to stay above 3,008, that means that the uptrend is over and we're probably going to expect a bearish trend. Now, one of the things that I found similarly, right, because normally for palm oil futures, at the beginning of the year, because most of the years, like at the beginning of the year, if you look at the charts, we normally have a correction or a pullback. Okay, so until somewhere in May, June, and then the market go into an uptrend again. But this time we don't see a pullback towards the end of the year. We see actually an uptrend until May. Okay, this is when we have a very bullish scenario. Okay, what I do not want to see happening is because if we look at the prices in 2008, all right, because the bullish trend continue until May as well, all right, and then after that, what happened was the price just moved into a big correction, right? But of course, the situation in 2008 and today is a little bit different, all right, but like I say, if the price is unable to stay above 3,008, then we're probably going to see a bigger correction. All right. So if you want to know how big the correction is going to be, you have to join my class in on our Trader Circle program. All right. Then we'll know probably where would the market go into a correction, okay, based on the historical data. So palm oil futures has pulled back. We're going to expect only a rebound probably when the price moves around 3,008 is quite near here, right? So like I said, if it does not rebound, the bullish trend is over and we're going to expect a bigger decline, right? But if it can rebound and stay above 3,008, then cyclically, normally June onwards, we will have a bullish trend for markets. That's when production goes down. Then we're probably going to see market moves into historical highs again, all right? Probably go to 5,000 ringgit. I'm not sure, right? But that if the price, is able to be maintained above 3,008 at least until June, right? Which is now it's already June, but maybe June or July. All right. So that's for palm oil. Okay, this again just basically based on technical analysis, right? Now Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has pulled back, as we all know, since its historical high in April. Okay, when it was trading at around $6,400 against the $64,000, right? And it has pulled back for a correction. And right now you can see that it is forming this triangle pattern. All right, let me just remove the volume. But you can see it's forming this triangle pattern for the past 1 month. And the thing about Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, right? The movement that we see on a daily chart is like the movement that we see on a weekly chart in the stock market, right? It's volatile. It's really fast, all right? So the rebound can be very fast. The decline can also be very fast, lah. Okay. So, but what we look at here, this green area over here, right, is actually a 50% retracement, okay, from the bullish trend that started in March last year. All right, so we see a movement when the price was trading at a low about $3,300, went up 20 times, right, to about 64,000, and it's now pulled back to the current level. So if we look at this middle line here, that's the 50% retracement. So currently the price of Bitcoin is finding support at this 50% retracement. Okay, and if you look at even in 2021, beginning of the year, you can see that the price has also corrected around this level here, 36,000. So only two ways you can go from here, right? You can see that the correction initially in May, it was very volatile. You can see that the range is big, right? But if you look at currently, the range is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's common lah, because like you see in beginning of 2021, we also see that range actually getting smaller, right? And this one actually ended up with a next bullish run. Okay, if you draw a similar triangle pattern over here, you can see that the price actually broke that resistance and it went up. All right, so we are seeing a similar situation right now on the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so if the price can go above that resistance, in other words, if it can break above, let's say $39,000, okay, currently it's trading at 36, right? Still inside that range. But if you can break above $39,000, then we're probably going to see the trend going up again. But if it breaks below, get that 50% retracement, and that will be at about $33,000, right? If it breaks below $33,000, then we may see further correction downwards. All right. And patterns like this, you can actually do targets, right? Like I said again, if you really want to know how to do the targets based on these patterns, you have to join me in my trader circle program, okay, which we're gonna actually have it in this weekend, right? So I'll later share with you more details. All right, so that's basically my sharing and my updates on the prices. Okay, so for me, I look at technicals, right? So our market, as long as it continues to stay inside that range, you're gonna expect it to be continue to go sideways. Market sentiment is not as bullish as we see last year, but then again, that can change, right? If the index goes higher. But what are your thoughts, Alvin? Since you also, I know that you don't look at the markets all the time like I do on a daily basis. But what's your feel?
I mean, I think they always say sell in May. Sell in May and go
Go
away or
away.
something. Yeah. It seems like this month seems to ring true to that old saying. Thank you all of you guys who are tuning in tonight. I have been a little bit quiet in the last month, as you know. I was infected with COVID, so I'm actually still recovering. So I'm in my kind of third week of recovery phase. So apologies if you've not seen me in the last couple of weeks. Been busy resting up. Look, all I could do was in bed. Looked at some of the prices. I think it's definitely interesting. And I think the market is definitely now going to shake off some weekends. And I think that's really a good thing. If you look at what happened in crypto, because there's also the derivatives market, so there was a lot of unwinding of derivatives value as well. So I guess once all this unwinding is complete, really, it's really I guess where is the new bottom line? And I think even for equities, I think a lot of newcomers who came in last year who started investing on homeowners, they are actually now really time testing whether they will actually stick around in the market, right? And I think it's going to be interesting. But I am still personally very long term bullish because the whole world is now still under a recovery mode. Vaccines are still being rolled out. We don't know actually if having a population that's fully vaccinated, whether the infections will still occur, right? Really, truly, we are really in a new normal, and a lot of modern governments today, I don't think they can do anything else but really, especially the US, create money, right? Create money supply, and I think the latest sort of leak that came out about Biden's next fiscal budget, which is going to be the largest in history, which is 6 to 6.6 trillion, which is you close to 30% of your GDP, right? I don't think that's ever been heard of. And if you kind of look at what they earn and what they spend, they probably come in, they probably take in about 2 trillion in taxes a year or income, and they're spending 6 trillion, right? So and it seems like they are trying to print their way out of this current recession. I don't think any economy is going to be it's really going to be cushioned from this, or have many other options. So I know there were some questions about last night's stimulus bill by our Prime Minister. I, and that's probably just the beginning. I think so far the federal government has been quite disciplined in terms of not increasing money supply as much as the US has. But of course, we must practice a little bit more restraint, because the US dollar is pretty much free for the US, and they don't owe anybody that money, right? But we're likely at a very early stages of a very high inflationary period, right? So if you take a little bit of a longer term, not a 1 month or 30 days or 60-day kind of turn, we are probably going to see that. I guess we're probably in a situation where investing in the next 5 years is probably going to be a lot easier, because, like they say, right, that when the tide comes in, it floats all the boats, right? And it seems that fundamentally that's what we're seeing happening really on the ground. Is, of course, it's very different from what happened in 2008, and I think we saw a massive rally in the commodity prices. Maybe they're just taking a break today. I think palm oil, like Benny shared, palm oil has come down quite significantly, but so has the other commodities as well, right? So has copper as well. But I think we definitely live in interesting times. So we definitely need to have a little bit of a longer term look on on the market as a whole, right? But nonetheless, if you're looking at stocks, fundamentals still matter.
All right. So I'll actually have a question from Bradley, but I'm going to come back to you again, Alvin. Andrew, so you are in the crypto matrix, right? You have the pulse. You can feel the pulse of the crypto matrix. But of course, we are now. Of course, those who invest in cryptocurrencies will be wondering right now. There are questions about will crypto go back to its historical high? Whether we're going to expect a bigger correction. But what's your feel, right, on the crypto market right now?
Okay, again, this is not financial advice nor investment advice, so this is just my personal opinion, and therefore don't make any financial decisions or investment decisions on whatever I have to say. I think generally I'm still I've always been a Bitcoin bull or crypto bull because I see it as an up and coming tech play. Right, it's a whole new industry that is that's being played out in front of our eyes right now. I mean, today, look, we're live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook and all that. Some of you are probably watching this on your mobile device, right? All this, right, started in the early 90s, right? 1994, I think. That was when Malaysia got access to the internet. That was when most of the world got early access to the internet, and it's played out over the last 20 plus years. So in general, we're still very early in this crypto game. Bitcoin is only 12 plus years old, which means, the rest of the, Ethereum has only been around for 6 years, right? So this is still very early. So generally, it is a growing industry, right, on its own. You can think of it as, Web 3.0 or Internet 3.0. I think in general, this space is going to grow. You will see many changes. A lot of, our new tech will become old tech because new tech is going to replace whatever we're used to. And a lot of that is happening in the crypto space. And I'll give you an example. For example, if you think about YouTube, right? YouTube is right now the dominant place for you to go to upload your videos and all that. But it is centralized control by YouTube, right? And I'll give an example. Last week, I was streaming on Thursday night on Future Proof, and midstream they cut us off, and apparently we had gone against community guidelines. So when we then tried to approach them and ask them, where was it that we had breached the community guidelines? They couldn't give us a straight answer. They just said, "Oh, you just did. You just have to follow them." And that's the problem with centralization in general, right? Now, obviously, when I was watching YouTube, all these scam adverts kept coming on, right? Apparently, Elon Musk is offering some SpaceX coin and all that, which is a total scam. But that was okay. It's okay if you pay YouTube, but when we present our research material, that wasn't okay. So that's the problem with a centralized system. And so you will see players like Theta. So if you check out THETA, theta.tv, these are the decentralized players that will be coming on and taking on the centralized systems like YouTube. So what we see and know today is going to be a very different. It's going to be Web 3.0. It's going to be Internet 3.0, and with that, that's where this whole crypto industry comes in, right? It's all about decentralization. It's all about making the web a little bit safer, a little bit, giving back more control back to the users, because ultimately that was the main intention of the internet when it first came about. It was about each user having each internet netizen, right, having the ability to publish what they want, or it's all about peer to peer and sharing and all that. But then as the industry developed, you saw some very successful companies who have taken somewhat control of some of these systems on the internet. And so you will see the next wave, which is what this whole decentralized movement is about as well, on the internet, where it then goes back to the original intention of the internet and it gives back control back to the people. So I am generally quite bullish because this is still a very new industry. If you think about the largest crypto out there, which is Bitcoin, less than 1% of the internet population actually has Bitcoin. So can you imagine when it grows to 10%? Right, it's just going to take time. Right, I mean, when Amazon first came out, there was that .com boom, right? It went up to $106, and then it dumped right down to $6. And I mean, the rest is history, right? It's what, 3,000 plus today. So it made Jeff Bezos the richest man in the world. So really, but that story played out over 20 odd years, right? 20 plus years. So my outlook is I'm generally I'm a perpetual bull for crypto until I'm not, right? Until Internet 4.0 comes out, and then it'll be the next wave. But for now, I remain bullish, but also that I zoom out, right? I zoom out a lot, and it's a long-term gain. It's not a get-rich quick scheme. It's more like a get-rich-slow scheme, right? So with the Benny mentioned about the volatility. Yeah, look, it's a very volatile place. So if you have a weak heart, I suggest you don't allocate so much into crypto. But otherwise, if you're an adrenaline junkie, then by all means, have fun, but always manage your risk. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I have a follow-up question from actually Bradley. It talks about this 4-year cycle in the crypto market, and at the end of this year, that bull cycle should be over. So is it necessarily going to play out this way? It will follow the past performance. What do you think?
Yeah, look, thanks, Bradley, for the question. It's a good question, and that's the general thing that you read about on social media as well, amongst the the crypto crowd. Now, statistically speaking, because Bitcoin's only 12 years old, it is pretty difficult to predict what's going to happen. But it did happen once in 2013. It happened again in 2017, and now we're in 2021. So this is supposedly the third cycle. And the last cycle in 2017, Bitcoin started the year at $1,000, I think, and it ended the year just under $20,000. So that was a 20x. So are we? Is it gonna crash? You know what? We've come 50% since we hit the high of $64,000. So I would say anything is possible in crypto. in the short term, but I think in the long term, I remain bullish. So is it gonna, and the thing is, right? Nobody can predict the market. You can always say, oh, but this time is different. Look, everyone said that back in 2017. Oh, this time's different. Again, you'll be saying, oh, this time's different because all these institutional players are coming in. Yes, the institutional players are coming in, but who knows what their plays, like how are they going to play this out? Like who knows what their game is, right? They may want to take some short-term profit, right? They can have a coordinated, a move, right? So look, we don't know. But what happened recently was really a chain of events where first you had the whole Elon Musk thing that happened. That kind of shook the market a bit, shook the market confidence. Then you had the announcement from China about Chinese miners. Then you had the Chinese miners, selling the Bitcoin to fund their move overseas, and that triggered a lot of over leveraged players who was exposed, and that brought on a lot of liquidations, right? So that's why you saw that crazy drop. But the silver lining here is that over $1.02 trillion was actually wiped off the crypto markets. $1.02 trillion is twice as much as the entire Malaysian stock market's market capitalization of 900 plus companies, twice over. So that much was wiped out in a matter of weeks. Well, what's interesting is that we didn't need to have any government bailouts, and we didn't need to have any QE because of it, and also the fact that the decentralized exchanges, including some of the centralized exchanges, were still rock solid. It still ran as normal, right? With that much reduction in the market cap, right? It was wiped out $1.02 trillion. So I think it shows that this space is maturing, and that the technology that's being built is pretty robust. We just perform a real life stress test on the crypto alternative financial infrastructure, and it passed the stress test. So I think that's quite positive. Yeah,
right.
Thanks.
So Andrew, in 2017, you have survived that nearly 80% fall on the crypto market, right? So right now, I think the price has only fallen 50%, so it's like not much effect, right?
No fuel.
Alvin,
I guess we're all seasoned and toasted already, right? So can't be burned twice, right?
Yeah. You gotta ride the highs with the lows, lah.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, I'm gonna come back again on the crypto. We still have quite a number of questions. So we're gonna go back to Alvin, right? Bradley is asking, does this new lockdown affect your investment thesis?
No, I mean, if I was not ill, I mean, just out of action, but I don't think anything really has changed fundamentally. I am still personally, as my personal view, not investment advice, whatever. I think we're still early, man. That's my personal view, right? But market timing is not really my best. My best strongest suit, but because I do look at long term, so I think inflation is just slowly bubbling away, and I think if you kind of look at some of the banking results that we're seeing now, and real estate being one of their main drivers, we're definitely probably seeing a uptick in the Malaysian domestic real estate market with all the liquidity in right now. Yeah, so I think that's a good sign, not necessarily a bad thing. So there's a lot of liquidity, right? So asset prices will money has to go somewhere. It just can't sit in the banks, right? Especially with such low interest rates today. So I think for some of the better managed banks, they're getting some pretty decent results, and that will give you an idea on where we are in terms of economic recovery as well. They're a good conduit as a measure of the health of the economy, right? And you can see the net interest income for some of the biggest ones, they were largely not affected. I mean, except for maybe a couple of write-offs, but they were largely not affected on the net interest income as well. I think there was one question on server dynamic, right? I know.
I just want to get into this. There are quite a number of questions. Just let me show the chart first, lah. What happened in the past few days, right? Okay.
Maybe you want to brief those guys who are not involved with server dynamic. What's really happened?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a question right now, because if you look at the chart of server dynamic right before that limit down, you can see that it was quite. I mean, there are no signs like even on the charts itself, although the price has just been going sideways, right? And of course, in the 2 days ago, or even let's say late last week, right? The auditors actually flagged some of their the numbers. And of course, when this thing happened, people got panic, and the price just limit down actually yesterday, right? And it also limited down actually today as well, limit down as well. But there is some rebound with very high volume today, right? So it has been down for 2 days, right? It's been limit down for 2 days. So I think most of the questions will be, are we be able to find or see any telltale signs, that this can happen from the numbers itself?
So I mean, just from my personal experience as an investor, I think the last kind of really major scandal that kind of shocked, in the Malaysian market was a company called Transmile. I don't know if you guys still remember. It was shocking because it was a Robert Kwok related company. And they were in the logistics space. They had planes, and they've had good numbers, right? So really, when you kind of look back at their published financial statements, it was very difficult to actually look at the financial statements to look for any kind of fraudulent activity, or were there any red flags, right? But I think, because I actually did that study, and I tried to look at some of the red flags, and of course, after they've audited it and the real numbers come out, then it looks pretty scary, right? But I think on the financial aspects, if this is really, and I'm not saying server dynamic is, because it's just auditors have raised a disclaimer on this that over $3 billion is there's a disclaimer on this. They can't verify where this money is, right? Or whether this is real or not. If someone is going to, and I'm not saying that is, right, but whenever there's accounting fraud, if you look at the US in the SEC in 2005, they actually did a study. 70% of the accounting fraud is actually done on the revenue figure, right? And this is a study done by the SEC, right? During the Enron crisis and so on and so forth. And because the sales number figure is very easy to manipulate, right? And because investors typically look at sales figures, right? Now, really, I had a very quick glance at Server Dynamics financial numbers. I mean, I really couldn't find, if you look at the receivables were healthy. No big deal on payables. Yes, they borrowed money to grow. And they were cash flow positive as well, right? And all these were audited numbers, right? So I think if anything, I think one of if anything, I'm just kind of, maybe I can share this, right? Let me just quickly share my screen here. So for those who are not familiar, Server Dynamic is in the oil and gas industry, and they are very much what I call a transactional business. So they don't require contracts, right? EPCC contracts and so on and so forth to actually make a profit. So very transactional. That means very project based. If I just show you here, if I can just quickly share. Okay, let me just share here. So of course, what is currently in contention is the 2020 numbers. Let me just see if I can share here. So if you guys look at Equity Tracker and you have access to it, right? I mean, they have posted fantastic numbers. 2016, 1.4 billion in sales, 2.7, 3.2, 4.5. So it's a straight line, right? In fact, the profit has also grown 150 million to about 500 million here. In fact, in 2019, they even gave out dividends as well, right? Last 3 years, they were paying out dividends as well. And if you look at the cash flow, is a cash flow positive? Of course, they were borrowing money, also investing heavily as well. And you don't actually find anything majorly peculiar, right? I think Shamin was asking earlier, his cash balance has gone up, but also his debt numbers has also gone up quite substantially as well. If you look at his receivable days, that's not something that you would flag straight out, which of course the auditors have brought up. Over 650 million of the receivables are now questionable. So which means they will have to potentially write off $650 million. And of course, on the inventory, I think over 500 million is, in a way, unsubstantiated or unaccounted for. And over 2 billion is actually in sales, right? So I think if you kind of look at this whole industry, in 2020, they actually posted growth in their unaudited numbers, right? Which I kind of find it, I mean, if any red flag or if you understand the industry a bit well, 2020 was a pretty bad year for oil and gas, right? Actually, if anything, I think oil and gas prices didn't rise as much as all the other commodity prices, right? Because of lockdowns and so on and so forth. So, and if you kind of look at the industry, whenever it's very low oil prices, capex is or capital expenditure for this industry typically will fall, right? And in 2020, I think it recorded like 13-year lows on capex spending, right? I think something like $100 billion of capex was wiped out. But yet they were able to grow in a very, very weak market environment, right? So it's imagine if you're on lockdown, you cannot operate for business, but then you record super normal profit, right? I guess if that was a question on how do I spot certain red flags, I mean, if someone is really purposely going to fudge those financial numbers, I guess they should be good at what they're doing. So really looking at those numbers by itself, I think it's going to be pretty hard to spot, right? But if kind of the head doesn't meet the tail, then you kind of figure out why is this industry, in the new lows, but they are hitting new highs, right? So I guess that's probably some question mark there. So that would be probably if I look at it, I compare it to Transmile as well. Back then, the doing air freight, right, was absolutely not profitable. In fact, logistics is very much a commodity business, right? So how is it that they beat everyone else by making these kind of profits, right? And I think the Transmile one, if you look at the case study, it was a lot of recycling of cash, right? So transferring from account A, B, C, D, keep transferring to kind of make it seem that there was cash flow as well. So I think that was what happened with Transmile. I can't say for sure what is going on with Server Dynamic, but just to answer Shamin's question on as a case study, that would be a point to take note of, right? So very rarely, if the wind is going against you, you can go faster than the wind. That if I can kind of just summarize that. I think Florence is saying that so actually if a company fails to submit their financial statements in the stipulated time, then they have to ask permission from Bursa to get an extension, right? If they don't, then actually they will be, I believe they will be classified as PN 17, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or one of the practice notes. If you are unable to file your audited financial statements on time, because that is really, really, really bad news. But by the time that that announcement comes out, which I think is public knowledge now, probably too slow for you to get out, right? So I think, if anything, this is something that is massive, grave concern from an investor perspective. Yeah.
All right. Okay, hope that can answer your questions, but of course there are a lot of things that we have to go and look at first, lah. Right? They're still early to say. Okay, Dexter, say hi. Hi, Dexter. Okay, Dexter.
Hi, Dexter.
Dexter is the man who's in charge of providing gardenia bread in East Malaysia, right? Well, so Dexter, maybe I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you see that frenziness of buying gardenia bread or bread in Sabah and Sarawak like what we see last year? Right? If you're still around, Dexter, maybe you can just let us know. But do you see that frenzy here in Semenanjung or in KL?
Wait for Dexter to reply.
But I here I can still see bread lah. I can still see gardenia bread at the hypermarket. That was last week lah. I do not know about today, because he did some shopping last week before the MCO, right?
Yesterday was crazy, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to crypto. Okay, I'm just basically consolidating the questions, right? One of the frenzy that's being created in the market was because Elon Musk was buying Bitcoin, right, and they put into their balance sheet and the company itself. Now that he has so-called abandoned, I'm not sure whether he's actually sold the Bitcoins, and basically promoting Dogecoin, right? So first of all, I do not know what is a Dogecoin. But when Andrew say buy, I just buy lah, right? Again, this is friendly advice only lah. Maybe you want to see whether just because Bitcoin was being abandoned by Elon Musk, I'm not sure how influential is Elon Musk is in Bitcoin prices. Should we look into Dogecoin?
Okay, I guess to clarify. By the way, if you search back in our archives, I actually did 2 episodes in the last 2 weeks. You probably have to search our FB, our Facebook archives. But the short answer is, I don't think Elon Musk has abandoned Bitcoin. I think so. I went quite a little bit more. We dug a bit deeper in the last 2 weeks. So what happened was, in the beginning of the year, Tesla announced that they bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. And so Tesla is actually the number 2 publicly listed company that holds the most number of Bitcoin. The number 1 publicly listed company that holds 92 or more thousand Bitcoin is actually MicroStrategy, and they're listed on NASDAQ, and it's run by its founder, Michael Saylor. So what happened was that they announced, and then shortly after, Tesla announced that they would accept Bitcoin for payment. Now, as you know, Tesla is still not yet profitable in making, in selling cars, right? So they get a lot of their profit from carbon credits because they are a green company. And so recently, the Biden government is allowing for companies to bid for carbon credits, right, to be part of that program. Now, we don't see it here, but in the US, the environmentalists are actually making a lot of noise about the carbon footprint of Bitcoin, because they say that Bitcoin mining uses way too much electricity. And therefore, it is not, it's not green. It is, the antithesis of being ESG and being, having green energy and renewable energy. And so, whilst Tesla is bidding to get this carbon credits, right, they obviously need to make a stance. Otherwise, it wouldn't put them in good light for them to get their because effectively whether Tesla is profitable or not, they really do depend on these carbon credits, right? And so obviously they had to. So what they did was they announced that they stopped accepting Bitcoin for payments of their cars in order to sort of show that they're a bit more green, until they can find a way to make Bitcoin mining more so that it doesn't use fossil fuels, right? So that it doesn't use non-renewable energy. And what they did was, but they also made in the same statement that they were not selling any of the Bitcoin. They were not going to sell it, right? So obviously they still found value in it. So I don't think Elon or Tesla has abandoned Bitcoin. I think they just had to take a stance for this moment in time because there are more important business objectives at stake, and therefore they needed to sort of get the get approved first, right? So I think that's all it is. But then it just kind of got taken out of context. And look, obviously, if you know Elon by now, Elon is really good at getting attention, right? And he has so many followers on Twitter, right? One tweet can send, any random coin to the moon, right? Literally. And so Elon decided to pick Dogecoin. We think because Dogecoin has no leader, but Dogecoin has a following, and therefore it would have been easier for him to sort of just grab that and sort of run with it, right? And I guess maybe he wants to be the leader of Dogecoin. Who knows? But look, there are a lot of hypotheses out there. But basically, Elon has not abandoned Bitcoin, I believe, or I think so. And in fact, during last weekend's crash, he even tweeted something that was positive about Bitcoin. So I think it might be because if Bitcoin falls below their purchase, Tesla's purchase price, they actually have to write it down. So that's so. Did that answer the question, Benny? It was about Elon, right?
Yeah.
I think also if you talk about Elon specifically, China is definitely not a big fan of Bitcoin, and he's the only car company that can be 100% owned operating in China. So I think apart from that investment portion, he's definitely getting pressures potentially from both sides, because Tesla also still gets quite a fair bit of federal funding, and they still very much operate in the centralized economy. So they have to also, as a business person, he also has to play by the rules. As much of a maverick that he is, and that's why he cannot be chairman, right? So, so one of those things. But I think he just had to had to make that statement. Yeah.
All right. Now, okay, there's a question. Let me see whether I can answer this. Eugenio Yap is asking, when the stock rise, I always hear people say operator will wash people out before continuing going up. Why operator wants weak holder out when they are helping to buy the price up? For me, I think the answer is liquidity, right? They need liquidity for the stocks to continue to go up, and it's always a psychological thing, because I was a victim also when I started investing or trading in the markets, right? And that's a problem if you look at the computer screen from 9 to 5 when the market is open. Generally, people will not be buying. I'm talking about the retail investors. The retail investors will not be buying when the price actually comes down, because they're scared it's going down again, right? And when the price goes up, that's when they start to chase those prices. Again, that's when the operators start to sell, right? And when they sell, the price comes down, the retail will not buy again, right? But that's when the operators start to buy, because they are controlling the price, right? So they know what price to actually push it down. And then the price goes up back again, and then the retail investors, and the retail investors always want revenge, right? I've lost money, I want to make money back again. So the price looks like it's going up higher, so I come in again, same thing happens again. And this thing happens since the day I started trading 20 over years ago until today. It still keeps on happening, right? People just, what you call operators, they could be market makers, they could be, syndicates or whatsoever. They make use of this, right? Market sentiment to always create that sense of liquidity, because when we look at the market and you always entice new players to come in as well, right? Well, volume very high, discounter, I think it's time to get in. Okay, that's how it keeps on recycling, right? So they need them, although they want to push the price higher, yes, but as long as they can buy at lower prices and sell at higher prices to these guys who are in their trap, that's how they make money, right? So that's basically my opinion.
I think they also want to. They don't want the retailers to sell to them as they're pushing up the price as well, because that will be very costly to them, right? So, like what Benny says, liquidity. So, if you have a lot of retailers that, as you try to push the price up, they start selling to you. That's the last thing that you want to do, right? Or last thing that you want to happen, right?
Yeah, because one of the things that most of the, I'm not sure whether new, because sometimes people have been trading for years, do the same thing. Every morning, the first 5 minutes or so, they always look for top volume counters. That's when the most, and you can see the top volume counters are all the like 10-cent stocks, 20-cent stocks, 5-cent stocks. That's what happened, right? Okay, let's go on.
Hey, there's one here. I think this from Rasmawi, right? Which one is more profitable, mining or investing?
I think if you are going to perform mining, you need to think about whether or not you're able to carry it on operationally, over the long term. Because look, depends what you mine, right? If you mine with one of those ASIC machines, those mining rigs, one is going to be very noisy. Two is going to use up. It's like a 2 horsepower aircon that you're running, right? 24/7, 30 days a month, 365 days a year. So whether or not you can keep up, well, first of all, whether your family's going to complain about the sound, right? If you're mining, and yeah, so look, if you're ready to invest in the equipment, and you're ready to ride it out, and you have the ability to sustain the cost of mining, and you're looking at it from a perspective of a business, so you're going to plow in capital and you are going to maintain it, so there's a maintenance cost, and then of course the other factor is the price of Bitcoin, for example, if you're mining Bitcoin. So you got to take that into account, and see how long your runway is, so you effectively run it as a business. When you buy it, you are essentially purchasing it with on an exchange, so there isn't much that you need to do operationally besides one, either leave it on the exchange, which I suppose if you're on a Malaysian, if you're a beginner and you're on a regulated exchange in a digital asset exchange in Malaysia, and you don't have a hardware wallet and you don't know how to store it safely, then you literally buy it and leave it, and then you sell it when the price goes up, right? So that one requires less work, and it's more like investing in a stock. Whereas when you do mining, it's more like running a business, like you're investing to run a business. So they're kind of two different things. It really depends on what's your cup of tea. Both can be equally profitable depending on how you run it, when you got into it. Now, one thing about mining is that you will find that the hash rate, if you zoom out again, it's been going up. The recent China scare has dropped it by a fair bit, but it is still up in the long run. So which means that over time you're going to need to invest in more hardware to put in to continue running it, which means your operating costs will go up. So you're just going to have to take that into account. Yeah, so I'm sorry I don't have a straight answer on which one is more profitable. Really, one is running a business, the other one is like you're buying stocks. So it really is two different things, and you got to do what suits your lifestyle. Yeah, so
I think we're getting quite a lot of comments about crypto this evening, and I think that's quite interesting. That we've been talking about crypto for the last 3-4 years, but very few people have taken notice. And we do run a crypto class, right, for those who actually want to understand it at a much deeper level than surface level, so that you actually understand why we were talking about this 3-4 years ago, right? But maybe we can post a link for you guys, for those of you who are interested. We are in a lockdown possibly for 4 to 6 weeks, so why don't you pick up a new skill and kind of understand it a little bit deeper?
Yeah, I agree. definitely invest in yourself first, right? Like figure out, have knowledge of what you're gonna put money into, right? Otherwise, you are gambling if you don't, if you don't know what you're doing.
And because there's so many scams around crypto today, I think if anything, arming yourself with that knowledge is absolutely necessary if you're going to put your hard-earned money into it. Yeah. And today, I mean, and because it's so difficult to discern between a real crypto expert and someone who's just read a few articles and claiming themselves to be a crypto expert, as long as they have a YouTube channel and a camera in front of them. I think that is very key. If you look at equities tracker, we have been talking about this since 2017, 2018. Okay, we even have published articles on newspapers to actually talk about that, where we were bullish back then, right? And this is late 2017, early 2018, right? So you have to watch out. There are a lot of scamish guys out there who pretend to know what they're talking about, but and it's really a lot of copy and paste, man, unfortunately. So this space is probably a little bit more discerning, right, when it comes to crypto.
Actually, it's quite funny what Alvin brought up. So back in 2017, in the last run cycle, right, you suddenly had this surge of crypto experts that emerged, and then when it crashed down to 80-85%, they all just disappeared. And then in this bull run, you're seeing a lot of new experts coming, mushrooming and coming into this space now. So it's quite interesting to see that happen.
Yeah. Oops, I think we lost Benny. Let me add him back. Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry.
Benny, over to you.
Back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'm gonna just do a few announcements before we answer one or two more questions. So just hang in there for a while. For those who are interested, and now that we are on a lockdown, is like Alvin mentioned, this would be the best time to actually learn. And now we are all doing it online, right? So it's a comfort at your own home. You can actually attend our programs, and one of the programs that's going to be held on this weekend is called the Trader Circle program, and this is where we learn how to look at charts to come up with trading plans to trade in the local markets. All right, and of course, the good thing about learning charts is you can also apply this not just in the equity market, you can apply this on the futures market, you can even apply it on the cryptocurrencies market. All right, so once you have learned the skill, you're able to apply that skill across markets now. So we're going to have one actually this weekend. Okay, Saturday and Sunday, on the 5th to 6th of June. Right, so if you are interested to learn this program and get more information, just type in TCP on the comment section. All right, so that our colleagues will get in touch with you and give you more information. All right, and if you're interested in cryptocurrency as well, you can just type crypto in the comment section. And when we're going to start launch a class soon, we will let you know as well. All right, and one more is. Basically, we also have another program. We have our value investing program. So if you guys are interested to learn about value investing principles and how you can use value investing to grow your returns or your wealth over a period of time, all right, using fundamentals, then this will be another course for you to attend. We have 2 sessions, right? There'll be a Mandarin session. It's a 3-day program, and this is also done online, right? So on the 11th to 13th of June, right, we're going to have a Mandarin session, and if you want to attend English session, there'll be one next month on the 23rd to 25th of July. All right. So if you're interested, just type in VIP on the comment section. If you're interested in the VIP Mandarin, you just type in VIP Mandarin. If you're interested in VIP English, just type in VIP English. All right. Now, 2 more announcements. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we actually have an event with Vong Capital, and I'm going to talk about why you should also consider gold. Okay, why should you invest in gold and why now, and how you can do it here right in Malaysia. All right. So I'm going to basically explain gold prices, and we actually did this last year, right? There's a title called "Is Gold Going to Continue to Shine?" Right? And of course, gold prices has actually gone up quite significantly in the past 1 year. And the question right now, can gold go up higher? All right. So join us if you want to know more about this tomorrow at 8 p.m. Same time, same place, right? On our Facebook page as well. And this Thursday, we also have a future proof where Andrew is going to be on, and he's going to bring a special guest, right? Maybe Andrew, you want to explain a little bit?
Yeah. For those of you who are interested in crypto, I encourage you to join us on Thursday night. So we have David Schwartz. Now he's the project director of the Litecoin Foundation. He's been on quite a few times, and this time he's coming to talk about his new company that he's just set up, Hedge, right? And so he's bringing on two of his team members as well. So it'll be quite crowded. It'll be four of us, and one of them, if any of you out there are a WWE fan or you used to watch, there's a lady called Danielle Monet. She used to be known as Summer Rae. So she's the director of social media, I think, and so she's coming on as part of that team. So look, do join us, because this company that David has set up is really interesting in what they do to help get normal folks like you and I, to how to onboard into crypto. So it's quite interesting. Basically, a part of their salary can go into crypto, so they can do what's known as DCA, dollar cost averaging, into crypto. So that's quite interesting. So do join us on Thursday. And if you're a WWE fan, I recommend that you come on and say hello to Samurai.
All right, so interesting. So join us this Thursday as well, right? Now, okay, I think we have time to answer one or two more questions. Okay, let me see. I think there are quite a number of questions on crypto this time. Okay, Michael Low is asking, right? Do you think ETH price movement will decouple from Bitcoin prices?
Wow, that's a good question. Look, with the upcoming upgrade of London, which is EIP 1559, basically that is Ethereum 2.0. So a lot of the people who are following it feels that this is going to be, this is it. Like, this is Ethereum 2.0. This is where they move from proof of work over to proof of stake. Look, it's okay if you don't understand what proof of work, proof of stake is. Come and join our class, right? Support us. But basically, it's a big event. The question is, one, are they going to make it on time, or will they postpone it? Two, is it going to work, right? Every time you do a major system upgrade, that's that fear, right? You have that fear that, is it going to work? So is it going to decouple? Look, there are some guys out there who feel that they call it the flippening, right? It's going to flip Bitcoin. The market cap of Ethereum is going to be larger than Bitcoin. Look, it's interesting, right? Because here you have two very different coins, right? You have Bitcoin, which is supposed to be hard money. When I say hard money, it means because it's a limited supply. Also, you guys, if you're interested, you should check out this book to figure out what hard money is. This is a good book. It talks about so you have Bitcoin, which has a very narrow scope, right? It wants to be money. It wants to be a store of value, right? A store of value, like what gold is, right? What Benny's going to be talking about tomorrow, right? So gold has been store of value for as long as we can remember, right? It's like, well, if you got a gold bar, it's worth, there's that store of value. Now, Ethereum is a different animal, right? Ethereum is supposed to be this platform. Think of it like the Google Play Store, or think of it like the Apple App Store. And then you have developers who can build apps on it, and they can monetize these apps, right? I'm a dev. I can create an app, and maybe I give out a free version. And if you want, you can upgrade and you can pay me some money. Apple will take some money, or Google will take some money, and I get 70% of that. But I place my apps on the App Store and on the Google Play Store. So Ethereum is this platform. Ethereum is that store, right? The Play Store or the App Store. And so that is Ethereum's goal. Ethereum's goal is to be that infrastructure for anyone and everyone to write apps on and monetize it. and that's what's happening. So effectively, you've got this very narrow scope of Bitcoin, which is money, store of value, right? Censorship resistance asset, and then you've got Ethereum, which is a platform, right? Think of it as it can be an alternative financial infrastructure platform for decentralized finance. Now, because there's such different scopes, is it gonna, is one gonna be more than the other? Look, I guess an easy way to, or one way to think about it is how much money is there out in the world, and if all that money were to, or a percentage of, when I say money, I mean M1, M2, M3, right, were to go into Bitcoin, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin, then how much would that be worth? Then you look at the financial system out there. How much is that worth? And how, if that were to be built on top or integrated into Ethereum, or if it takes away some of the business, or it might even grow the pie, how much can that be worth? I guess that's kind of one way to look at it. So I know I'm being very ambiguous, but usually when you ask I know you want a simple answer, but sometimes there's there's so many factors and so many variables at play here. So I guess you gotta understand what's happening. You gotta understand what's happening within the industry as well, because you see that a lot of one of America's oldest bank, right, BNY Mellon, has just said that they're going to adopt crypto, right? They're going to allow their customers to have access to crypto. So you're going to. I see this pie growing, right? I see it all growing. So that's my take on that.
All right. So, guys, if you have more questions, I know there are a lot of questions on crypto, but please do join Andrew on Thursdays, right? Because he's run a Future Proof, which also covers cryptocurrencies, all right? So, 8 p.m. on Thursdays. Okay, maybe one more last question on which related to stock market. There's a question here by Eddie Tang, right? Oil prices is now hitting $70 a barrel. What do you think about oil stocks?
Alvin, I think you're on mute.
I think if you say about oil stocks, you really much you must kind of understand which part of the ecosystem or the chain that you are actually looking at, because I think, of course, for most part, if you look at the Malaysian oil and gas plays, mostly providers, right, or capex related companies. That means when a company spends capex, they will take a big project and they will make money, of course, and all the other ancillary services, right? Really, the nice kind of recurring revenue stuff, it's not so much listed. Also, if you kind of look at the scope of it, you must look at deeply. You must look at the oil and gas company that you want to invest in. Whether or not actually oil prices affect them, right? Some oil and gas companies, you'll be surprised. Oil price goes down, actually, their income is not really that affected, right? So I think that's kind of, you must kind of look at the whole value chain of exactly where it sits. But of course, naturally, I think in a current inflationary environment, if commodities is one cue for you to take, once we are on that recovery path, we are likely probably going to see oil prices having that same inflative effect as the rest of the commodities as well. Largely driven by a few factors, right? Because of COVID, capex came down significantly. And if there is when there's mass printing of money and it's going to people and consumption increases, if they can increase the number of consumption of oil barrels per day, if people are allowed to travel freely and you can take a flight and go for holiday and things like that, and business travel is still there, it can operate. And in the short term, you likely probably may have a supply squeeze, because a lot of capex was not invested in the last couple of years because of lower prices and also because of COVID, right? Last year and this year as well. So I think it's bound to kind of revise back up I think that's kind of writings already on the wall for some of these commodities as well. But of course, we still need to watch the shale production in the US, because oil and gas dynamics are our oil crude oil price dynamics are a little bit different from other commodities, right? But because the kind of disruption here is that previously, like most commodities, if I'm mining cobalt or copper or something, it takes me 5 to 10 years before I get a mine operational. Same if I were to digging a operational well, right, a deep well in waters, right, to dig out oil. But shale has really changed the game. That you can get 20 guys dig a well in a week. They don't have HR, they don't have all these other baggage that you typically carry with a big oil and gas giant, right? And they can kind of dig it out very quickly and actually extract it fairly cheaply as well, right? And then they move on to the next site. So I think that's something that you have to look at. But because of the oil price crash, a lot of these shale guys have actually gone out of business, right? And a lot of them were in debt. I guess the question here is, will the banks be financing some of these shale guys to get them back online? Likely, if oil prices hit 80, 90, $100, you're probably going to see a revival in some of these supply of shale oil as well, right? So that's the one to watch.
All right. Thanks. So guys, thank you so much. We already run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we end, once again, if you're interested to join our trading program this weekend, please type TCP on the comment section. Or if you're interested to attend our VIP or value investing program on 11 to 13 of June, which is a Mandarin session, just type in VIP. All right. So with that, thank you, and stay safe, everybody. Until we see you again, have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Stay safe.